Hello, and today we're doing Emirates FA Cup predictions for the semi-finals of the 2020 to 21 competition. And that's right, it is time to see the teams at Wembley. It will be sad because not as many fans as we're used to, but still a decent amount, at least for the times we're in right now. And that will be, I think, 2,000 fans in the Leicester Southampton game. And they're going to be residents, basically local to Wembley. So no particular Southampton and Leicester fans, unfortunately, for safety reasons. But it's better than nothing, and we'll see how it goes. And then obviously no fans in the Chelsea-Man City game. They're just trialling it out at this point. So yeah, hopefully we can get everyone back to a sense of normality. But at the minute, this is the way it has to go. And it is going to be two fascinating semi-finals. Leicester versus Southampton and Manchester City versus Chelsea. Now, obviously, the first one, Leicester-Southampton, is going to be very, very interesting because this was the game 2 seasons ago that Leicester won 9-0 away from home. Now, this is not away from home. This is at Wembley. But if Southampton put in another defensive display like that, then who even knows? It could be a record-breaking win in a in an FA Cup game at Wembley. But I don't know. Surely Southampton aren't going to play that high line again. Means that Leicester can break on the attack and punish them chance after chance. We don't know. But ultimately, going into this, Leicester haven't been incredible in form, but they are really good in the FA Cup, it seems to be. And Tielemans has been putting in some really good performances in that competition. Now, right now, after the breach of COVID restrictions by Harvey Barnes, Hamza Chowdhury, Wes Morgan, James Maddison, and Ayoze Perez, there's still a bit of doubt about those players. Will they go straight back in for this game? Well, apparently Brendan Rodgers has somewhat drawn a line under that problem, that very irresponsible house party, and maybe that means they come back in for this game. So that does provide good chances for Jamie Vardy, who's been struggling for goals, taken a bit of a back seat, and Kelechi Iheanacho has been banging them in left, right and centre. So I think it will benefit Vardy if Maddison is back, which is probably likely. But then if Maddison plays on Saturday, then does he play on Thursday in the Premier League? We just don't even know at this point. So it is a lottery, but we'd imagine Maddison plays. Harvey Barnes, I think he's at a period of his fitness where he's not quite ready yet. And obviously people like Hamza Chowdhury, you would have predicted them to be used a lot more in the FA Cup in the build-up because of the fact it's not the Premier League, it's not the first competition of choice. But still, important. And when you get this far, you want to get to the final, just like Watford did in 2019. And that was amazing. But it took a lot of grind, a lot of determination, and one of these teams, Leicester or Southampton, will have to show that in this one. Now, let's preview that Leicester-Southampton game and then we will get to our prediction. So let me give you 3 reasons why I think Southampton can make the FA Cup 2021 final. So first of all, it's a welcome distraction for the Saints. The Saints have been able to put their Premier League troubles aside and they're trying to reach the semi-final. They've reached the semi-finals, trying to reach the FA Cup, and to get the semi-finals of the FA Cup for just the second time in the last 18 years. And I remember they were knocked out at this stage by Chelsea. I seem to remember a really good individual goal from Olivier Giroud, just completely dribbled through everyone. But ultimately, it's a big opportunity for Southampton to, nice distraction, nice opportunity to get to a final, and they'll be, feeling fairly confident. But, when it was at the King Power in the Premier League, Southampton got the victory last season. Then when it was at St Mary's, you know what happened. It was a very different story. So it's really hard to predict this game. But they were, knocked out by Chelsea in the 17-18 FA Cup. So they want a bit of vengeance and they'll be hoping to go one step further this time around. Did you know Nathan Redmond's 2 goals in the South Coast Derby quarter-final that they won over Bournemouth in the previous round were as many as he managed in his previous 34 appearances for the Saints in all competitions. So it has been a pretty barren spell for Nathan Redmond. But I bet in his days of Norwich City and, other clubs, he wouldn't have been dreaming of even being able to get this far in the FA Cup. So it really is a good chance for Southampton, and history awaits at this point in time. Ralph Hasenhüttl has made no secret of their club's big ambitions to go far in the competition, and this is a great season to do that. The Saints have already knocked out the teams of Arsenal, the current holders, and Wolverhampton Wanderers on their way to these semi-finals. So if they end up lifting the trophy, let's see, but it would be a shock. Hasenhüttl would become the second manager to win the FA Cup with the Saints, and ultimately that would be a great achievement after this season, which has been very inconsistent. Defensively, still lots of problems. Going forward, they've still got Danny Ings, still got Ward-Prowse, little moments of promise, but it's that consistency that the Saints want right now. Defensively, you'd say, yes, they've had struggles, but they've got very good defensive beasts, rocks at the back of that defence. And that's one of the main reasons why the Saints will fancy their chances of going all the way in this competition, because their defensive record in the FA Cup, Jan Bednarek and Yannick Vestergaard are both very, very solid at the back, and they're still yet to concede a single goal in this season's competition, which is absolutely mad. And that is going to be a difficult thing to carve out for Leicester City. But in terms of likely lineup, probably Forster in goal, you'd imagine. Bertrand, Vestergaard, Bednarek, Walker-Peters, Redmond, Ward-Prowse. Maybe it's going to be a good chance for the likes of Diallo to play in the place of Moussa Djanipo, and also in the place of people like, the midfield area that might not be, that thoughtfully contested right now, highly contested. And then on the left-hand side, you'd imagine it would be Redmond, right-hand side Armstrong, but they could switch it up. And then, of course, up front, Danny Ings has to be there for me. He's still very lethal on his day. And Che Adams, maybe. He might be given a chance. Recently, he's not been playing a lot of games, but this is the kind of game you could see him shining. So that is my predicted lineup. Now let's get into Leicester City and 3 reasons why they can make the final. So the Foxes are about to compete in the semi-finals for the FA Cup, the first time since 1981 to 82. It's been a long wait for the Foxes. Now, they are the fearless Foxes, of course. Not many teams have outplayed Manchester United this season, but that's exactly what they did in the quarterfinals a few weeks ago. It was just a really, really good performance all round. Iheanacho was once again lethal, and it's just a timely reminder that actually, when it comes to it, Leicester can be really good, and when they're at their best, they're actually capable of beating anybody. Brendan Rodgers, you've got to say, has done a fantastic job of, improving that squad and just generally stamping his authority on it. And they've really shone at the King Power Stadium, and he'd love, I guess, to top that all off by getting a trophy and guiding his side towards that final. So, yeah, it's a good chance for Leicester, and we know they have such great players, even if they have been really hurt by injury. So they obviously would see this as a favourable draw against Southampton, because they were drawn versus Southampton during that half-time of the game against Man United. And that, I think, is probably a bit of a motivational boost for them, because when you think of the side of the draw, you've got Chelsea and Man City, and they face neither of them in the semis. So it's really ideal. And even though it won't be an easy game, I think Southampton will make it tough. Brendan Rodgers' side will be delighted that his side did get to avoid Man City and Chelsea. Obviously, if they win, they have to play them in the final, but it's the best time to play them, really. So right now, Iheanacho is in such great form, and he's going to be a player that Southampton will be looking to kind of keep quiet. But at this point, how can he be kept quiet? Because he just looks to be playing at the top of his game. And he'll be very much looking forward to this weekend's semi-final, Kelechi. The Nigerian forward has been on fire in 2021 and netted a brace in those quarterfinals versus Man United. And he's formed actually a really good partnership with Jamie Vardy, despite Vardy not quite going as forward as Iheanacho and kind of being more of the provider, not much the, executor and the finisher. Iheanacho has really benefited from Vardy's presence, and they'll want to end the Saints' run of clean sheets in this competition. So Schmeichel, you'd imagine, in goal. Wesley Fofana, Evans, Soyuncu, probably the back three. Now, it's interesting to see whether or not they play Albrighton. He's got a great cross on him, but It's whether he would play in the FA Cup or whether they would go with someone else. Castagna, obviously, the attacking left back, you'd imagine, but Pereira could equally play. Ndidi, Tielemans, maybe Maddison comes back in, we'll see. But Iheanacho and Vardy, I think that's very much going to be their front two. So let's get to what I'm predicting for this game. I'm going to say Leicester City 3, Southampton 1. I don't think it'll be a battering for Southampton, but I just think Leicester are really in a great time right now. With that manager, with this squad, I think they'll be able to get to Wembley and get to that final again. So in this 3-1 Leicester win, let's say goals come from Youri Tielemans on 10 minutes, and then Southampton equalise through Armstrong in the 53rd minute. And then in that second half, Leicester get the second through Kelechi Iheanacho once again on 72 minutes. And the final goal for Leicester, to make it 3, is scored by midfielder Wilfred Ndidi on 87 minutes. Right, let's go into the next semi-final, Chelsea versus Manchester City. Now, first of all, Chelsea, terrific under Tuchel. You've got to say, he has improved them a lot. The last few games has not been ideal, but he's done a fairly solid job. And of course, to get to the Champions League semi-final is a great achievement. Can they get further than that? Who knows? But it's a very tough test against Real Madrid. And Tuchel has had a good impact at Stamford Bridge. Defensively, they've improved since Lampard has left. And they have one of the strongest records in that department since the turn of the year. So I think they'll be confident that they can get through their tough semi-final clash, because if they just remain solid, then they've got, a good chance. Manchester United and Arsenal are the only teams to have won this competition more than Chelsea, and the Blues lifted it on 8 occasions. So, yeah, Tuchel is going to hopefully carry on that Chelsea tradition. Not many teams have more experience of reaching the semi-finals than Chelsea, and they've now managed to do it 25 times. They, of course, have fond memories of this competition, but they'll want to forget the last one because they lost the final to Arsenal, and they need to make them chance here count and make up for that moment. And even though the Blues would have wanted to avoid playing against Man City, they'll still be confident of maybe causing an upset, because Chelsea produced one of the best performances of last season to beat to beat Man City 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. The result, of course, that gave Liverpool the title. And if they can replicate that really positive, sharp display, then they stand a great chance, because, that was impressive. Pulisic was on fire, and ultimately they just really looked that they were going for it, all guns blazing. So I think Mendy, you'd imagine, despite not being the FA Cup goalie, he'd come in for this one because of the importance. Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Zuma, Alonso, James at right back, Kovacic, Kante, Mount, and maybe Ziyech. And you could see Havertz play in that kind of false 9 position, or Werner, but that's probably going to be the lineup. Now, Man City, 3 reasons why they can make the final. They've got hopes of the quadruple. They really want to go all out in this FA Cup. And KDB, Kevin De Bruyne, has been involved in 9 goals in his past 8 FA Cup matches, scoring 4 and assisting 5. And he'll really want, once again, to rub in the salt and score against his former side, Chelsea. Now, even though winning the Champions League has to be their priority, because, that's going to be the biggest result and the biggest reward in football, for Man City this season, they've still got their sights on making history and getting the FA Cup once again. They got it in 2019. They couldn't retain it, but they want to get it back, really. And it would be a fantastic achievement to get that quadruple: Champions League, FA Cup, EFL Cup, Premier League. It's not going to be easy for them to pull it off, but they've got a really strong squad and probably strong enough to challenge for each of these trophies. And this is going to be a big, big game in that hope to get that quadruple. And ultimately, Pep Guardiola's men, they've got that winning mentality. They're no strangers to this stage of the FA Cup, reaching it at least the semi-finals for 3 seasons running. So, they've been pretty regular. It's fair to say the team really don't get fear from this kind of situation, and they don't really fear anybody. But they will be desperate to avoid a similar outcome to the last season's semi-final versus Arsenal. They had 71% possession, but still couldn't take their chances. So they'll need to be clinical against Chelsea, especially with that tough defence. And goals galore, maybe, at this game, because none of the remaining semi-finalists have actually scored more goals than Man City and Leicester en route to the stage. Citizens have scored a joint high 11 FA Cup goals as well as Leicester City. So City are the highest scoring side in the Premier League right now, looking like they're going to get the Premier League, and they put 3 past the Blues in the Premier League back in January. So I think Edison probably won't play in this one, though it is the semi-final. You'd imagine Stefan comes in, Walker, Diaz, maybe Laporte. I'm not sure if Stones is going to get risked because of the Carabao Cup coming up, the Champions League. Cancelo possibly on that left-hand side though. Gundogan, Rodri, possibly Foden. And you'd imagine it would be Jesus, Sterling and Mahrez, or possibly one of, the other players on that wide position like Torres. They might get substituted in. Rotation is so hard to predict with Manchester City. But that is the team I'm going with. And that, for my friends, I'm going to predict now. So Chelsea to lose this one. I think Man City are just too strong. And though Chelsea have been impressive this tournament, I think Man City have been even better. So Chelsea 1, Manchester City 2. And goal scorers here, will be from, first of all, Ilkay Gundogan. Then Chelsea will equalise, in my opinion, through the winger, Christian Pulisic. And then the final goal for Man City to get to that final, an unlikely scorer, but Rodri will get the second goal. And that wraps up my predictions for these FA Cup semi-finals. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video. Comment your predictions down below. It's 3 points for the correct goal difference and 1 point for the correct result. And then, of course, it's going to be 5 points for the correct score. Thanks for watching. See you next time.